Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Andres Kaiser, writer and director of Feral, which is playing Saturday, June 1st and Sunday, June 2nd at Hola, Mexico Film Festival. It's very cool to have you here.
Hi, hello.
Yeah. So for people not aware of Feral yet, can you give them an idea of what the movie's about?
Yeah, of course. Well, Feral, it's a Mexican film as well as all the films that are going to be screened at Hola Mexico. And it's a bit of a horror film. It's between the thriller and the horror, and it's about a man who a Catholic priest who right now it's living in the woods for a life of contemplation. And one day he found three feral children in the wild, living in the wild. These kids that they're not. They cannot speak, they cannot have any social relations with other human beings. And so he decides to take them into his house, into his cabin in the woods, and try to civilize them, which it's a very bad idea. It turns out to be a very bad idea. So that's basically the plot of the film.
So where did the idea come from?
Well, when I was a kid, I read a book called the Lord of the Flies, which is I was really impressed with this. It's a story about some kids who they're traveling in a plane and the plane crashes and they're abandoned in an island, and so they have to decide how to make their lives like in every adult. They're gonna take decisions, and at the beginning everything is good. They try to make civilization and stuff, but after a while there start to be a lot of fears between the kids, because they say some of the kids say that there's a monster in the island, and the little kids are very scared, and you can see that there's a relation of power. So I was always very frightened with this book. So I believe this is one of the the first things that I experienced. And many years later, when I was thinking about doing my first film, I thought that trying to explain humanity and trying to explain what is the deepest horrors we live. And for me, they're not like kind of ghosts or scary things that doesn't exist. For me, the deepest horror is trapped in the human bodies and in the human minds. So I wanted to make a film that, try to talk about these things. How terrible can we be with each other, and where is the horror inside of us? So I think that was where the film came from.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but in school, at least they used to when I went to school. In high school, we read that book in school. I think most of the people my age did.
It is. I mean, it's amazing. It's so touching. It's so profound in so many levels. So I think, it is, and I think also that was a film very influential for me was Princess Mononoke from Hayao Miyazaki, this animation film. So I think those two concepts, when you put them together, which they're very similar in some levels, I think they're pretty scary. They can be pretty scary.
Is the idea of feral children is that taken from anywhere? Is there anything that's loosely based on in reality?
Well, there's from a long history, there have been a lot of feral children cases, but sadly they're poorly documented. But basically, there's one case which happened in France, I think in the 17th century, which a doctor take this child into care, and he wrote a book, a very important book, very detailed book about it, who's called Victor de Aveyron. And so yeah, it is like based some cases in that case happened in France, and it's also talking about there's a famous case in LA that happened in the 70s, I believe. A little girl whose name was Jeannie, and she lived in an LA house, and his parents won't let her go out from a room. She was tied to a chair, and she has no language of any level. So I think they're mostly those cases which I based on to create the imaginarium of the film, if you want to call it.
Yeah, and it's a very unique film, the way you tell a story and the way it's made, because it. And I saw that your background is in documentaries, so it's almost like a documentary that's a fictional documentary.
Yeah, I always wanted to have a very hyper realistic film, and I always because I'm come from the editing side of cinema, and when I was editing documentary, I realized that you all the time, or most of the times, you're using not very different strategies when you are editing fiction. For example, to change the point of view, or to say something less, or say something more about some subjects you want to say. So there's a lot of manipulation in the documentary as well, and the public, they're trying to believe that documentary it's like it is all truth, just because someone said so or one character says so in front of the camera. So I believe that if I play the film like a documentary, and I can mix it with a little found footage, horror found footage, it could be like a very realistic mix, and maybe a scary one. So I think the mix, it ended up working in a way.
That's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people do have the idea that a documentary isn't supposed to take either side. You're supposed to leave it up to you to get But I mean, I always think almost all documentaries are clearly have one side or the other. And as you said, if you manipulate, you can easily make someone into a villain or a hero just to what you show and how you show it.
Totally. I mean, there's a lot. I'm not saying that the documentary is like it's all fake, but
right.
every piece of the only to put the camera in some place that you decide, you're making reality not because it's impossible to represent reality in as a whole. So you're taking a piece of reality only, and that piece of reality has to be served in terms of narrative. So the question you're asking all the time when you're making documentary is like, is this going to work for the final picture? Is it going to work for the discussion? Is this going to work for the plot? It doesn't matter if it's true or if it's not. So you're playing a lot with dramatic sense, with fictional sense. So I believe that happened into a lot of documentaries, and almost the majority of them. And if you see the most successful or the most documentaries I like, they are which they play better with the narrative.
Yeah, I agree. It's just it's weird that I think a lot of people don't think that way, but it's clear when you're watching them. So when you're editing a documentary that you didn't direct, like, is it up to you to decide like how you do it, or do they have a lot of input in what they want you to get across when you're editing it?
Well, I guess it depends on the director a lot, and how many clarity does it have, or does she have to explain or to tell the story. But I think you always, as an editor, because it's such a strong position in documentary, I would say that when you're making fiction, maybe the DP is the strongest person after the director who's making decisions. But in documentary, it is the editor, because you're taking a lot of very important decisions to that. So for me, in my case, I'm always trying to propose something, I was very lucky to find directors that they were very open into those kind of decisions. I was really funny, because when I was making this this film, Feral, this documentary horror film, I was writing the script, and I was trying, I was writing the script as if the documentary was already edited. And when you're editing, you have a lot of raw material. So it was like a very strange kind of method of working, because it took me so much time to write the script, because it has to look like a documentary which was, film a lot of filming, and then after a lot of filming you have to watch the material, and after that you make an edit. So that whole process was only into the writing stage. So it was hard, but it was funny,
Yeah. So, like, if someone were to read the script, would a lot of it be like stuff you wrote down about how you're going to edit it? Like, what did the script look like to someone not like yourself who was just reading for the lines?
Yeah, it was. If you read the script, it was. It was written in a fictional format. Mm-hmm. But if you read it, it was like you were watching a documentary all the time. Very long phrases from the characters, because sometimes that's how the documentary works. The character is in front of the camera and just talking, and we want to keep going and to keep hearing this character. So it was basically like a documentary. Like if you transcribe a documentary from watching to the screen into a screenplay, a cinema screenplay. So mm-hmm. It was, it was curious, I think.
Yeah. By the way, my co-host has joined us now, Troy.
Who?
Troy, or my co-host here, Terrible Troy.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Hi, hello.
Hello. How are you tonight?
I'm very good. How are you?
Everything's great, thank you.
So,
good.
When you go to cast a movie like this that, is presented as a documentary, what are you looking for? Because I would assume you try to get realistic looking people.
It was a hard decision to make, because I wanted very good actors, professional mm-hmm. actors, but most of them were old actors. But it's very difficult to find a very good actor who's not recognizable into the people's mind. So we make they made a huge casting work, and we ended up making a mixture with non-actors or natural actors, with professional actors that hasn't been in cinema, just in theater, mm-hmm. And sometimes some very good actors which been a long time away from the film world. So it was kind of a mixture, I think. And then there's the kids, 3 kids. Mm-hmm. We made I think we spent 1 year into looking for the kids. We have near 100 kids at the beginning, and then we ended up with 3. And they were terrific kids, just very professional, they all wanted to be actors, and I was just surprised with them.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of still photography, in the movie, especially at the beginning, and just like a documentary. So when you're taking those photographs, what's that process like?
The photograph from the still photographs.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Yeah, the one that you move around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole, because we didn't have any access to archive material, mm-hmm. So because of rights and stuff like that, so we have to make everything just to make everything with kids or with different characters to look like they were real photographs from the 60s or from the beginning of the 20th century and stuff. So it was a very hard work to remake all these things just to look like they were produced in the 80s or in the 50s or in the 30s. Mm-hmm. So everything was created from that point of view. It was really it was fun, and we I don't remember how many people, including extras and stuff, with the film was, but it was a lot of people, in front of the camera.
Yeah. So, like, how long was the whole process of making the movie? Because you have to film these things, and you said the writing process is a little different because you have to, plot this out as a documentary. And then I would think putting it all together and in post and stuff would also take a lot of time.
Yeah, here we took 7 years to make the film.
Oh, wow.
It was quite a time, 7-8 years.
Wow.
But one of the main reasons that happened that way, I believe that because this is my first feature film as a director and as a writer. So here in Mexico, most film money come from the state's taxpayers' money. So you have to do a lot of bureaucratic process in terms of prepare the project and the script and the budget and everything just to the committee. They can make a judgment of the project and stuff. So that added a lot of time, to have the money only to film. I believe sometimes in the States, the money came from other ways. Sometimes it is better, sometimes it's worse. I don't know. I don't have the tools to decide that. But definitely was a lot of bureaucracy in terms of that. But I think it was good because every time, a committee said no, for example, I had more time to plan the script. Or, for example, we have like 50% of the money into the bank account, and we have to wait a whole year to get the other 50%. So I will turn on to the script and try to read it again and to make changes. And at some point of view, I was trying myself. I was trying crazy because I just wanted to make the film and stop. To please this whole thing be over. But right now I'm preparing the second film, and I hope I'm not. I will be able to make it in less time, but 7 years because it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a long time, 7 years. So, have you ever made when you were working on other documentaries? Were they all out of Mexico, or did you make movies in the States or anywhere?
Yes, we have this. I edited one film. I was very close to that project, and I really like it a lot. We filmed that in Alaska, in the Bering Strait. So it was just amazing because the director, she is a very famous photographer here in Mexico because she did a lot of photographs of lucha libre in the 80s and in the 90s. And she wanted to do a documentary about this frontier which exists between the U.S. and Russia, which is in the Bering Strait between two tiny islands. So I thought the story was fascinating. So we went into Alaska. I was making, like a lot of things. I was first AD, and at the same time I was a data manager, and at the same time I was a third camera, and I was assistant production. I was doing a lot of jobs, and then I edited here in Mexico. So I really have a very passionate and really love that documentary. It's called Bering, Balance and Resistance. And which is it's a very American story. Who are the people who live in that part of the world which is very isolated, and I find it really, really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get into making movies?
I think it was when I was 14 or 13. We used to have in San Luis Potosí, which is my hometown here in Mexico. We used to have once a year like a show of international films, And I remember for the first time I saw this film called Lost Highway by David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I just found it totally amazing. I didn't know that you can do that in a film. So I was, I was impressed. And I remember when I get out to in the theater, I just say to my friends, I want to do that. You know, sometime in the future, I know what I want to do. I want to do that. So I think that was the time I realized I wanted to be in the filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Was it something hard to pursue? Like, how do you get? You know, it's one thing to want to do it, but how does one get involved in making movies?
I mean, I consider myself very fortunate because I was able to go to Spain and to study film editing and script writing in Madrid.
Oh, nice.
And then after that, it was amazing. And so Spain and Madrid, such an amazing city. So after that, I returned to Mexico, and I was very lucky to find job very quickly in the editing area. And then after that, I think I was like 10 years editing TV series, films, documentaries, and stuff. Until one day I wanted to make my own film, to be a director, and not just only a director, but as an author. But I think it's a really hard profession to pursue because you spend a long time with concerns about having no money and how you're going to pay the rent if there's no future projects, and then you spend a lot of time working in projects that you don't believe a lot, but you need the money, and your free time you're working into your own things that matter. Mm-hmm. But after that, when you see the film in the screen, when you see people talking about some project you were involved with, I think I think it's worth it. It's very hard. For me, it was really hard, but I really enjoyed the ride, and I'm still enjoying it.
So the payoff's all worth it then.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, have you watched Feral with an audience yet?
Yes. We premiered in Fantastic Fest in Austin. Mm-hmm. This in last November. It was that was the first screen the film had because that was a world premiere. It was great. It was great how the people receive it. We have a chance, to be in the festival. It allows you the chance to talk to the people and to be there closely. So it was really good. And then the film has been in a couple of festivals here in Mexico. We premiered at Los Cabos Film Festival. And then we're going to have our Asian premiere very soon in an important festival also. So it is really, it's a mixture of being nervous because maybe somebody, could go away in the middle of the screening. Right. But at the same time, I think it's amazing to talk to the people and to see how they react and to see how they value your work and the people who work in the film, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So have you ever been to the Hola Film Festival before?
To Hola Mexico?
Yeah, have you ever been to the Hola Mexico Film Festival?
No, I haven't. I've been hearing a lot from a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. This is my first time. I only was in LA once because I went there to edit a TV ad. Mm-hmm. So I stayed I think 36 hours in LA. So I was at airport, highway, hotel room, editing a lot, go to Venice Beach, touch the sea, and go home. But this is my first time. I want to experience LA, which a lot of friends told me that it's a beautiful city, and to experience the festival and to talk with a lot of films I want to see, a lot of filmmakers I want to meet.
Yeah, it's a really cool lineup, and it's a lot of different types of movies. Now, your movie is in the on the Nocturna lineup. Are you interested in horror movies, or did you just happen to make like a horror movie?
I would love to be making genre films as long as I can. I'm actually working right now in my next film, and it's slightly different. It's not using documentary anymore. It's more like a narrative film. But it happens in 18th century Mexico, which was part of the Spanish colony at the time, where there's this nun, a nun that she is charged with, for the Inquisition decided to make some charge with her because the Inquisition thinks she is possessed by the devil, and because of that she has been murdering a lot of nuns in the convent where she lives. So there's this priest that came from Spain, and he tries to solve the mystery. Is this just a woman who is having some hallucinations, or is she really talking to the devil? So I'm really fascinated with the fact that horror can talk very deep subjects in many levels. You can make commentaries of the social reality at the same time and in a philosophical way, but also be a movie that can be capable of being scary or have a lot of deep emotions or terrific emotions in the audiences. So for now, I just want to pursue genre. I think that's most what I like. Yes.
So when you start, you watched the David Lynch movie that made you want to become get into making movies. What are some of the horror movies that made you interested in horror movies?
Well, when I was a kid, I remember watching Rosemary's Baby. Which years after that, when I was a kid, I was terrified with that. I didn't understand nothing, but I was terrified. And then years later, I watched it again, and I believe it's such. I really love it. Then I really love Dario Argento's Giallo career, which I believe it's fantastic. I admire a lot of American genre. All this master, John Carpenter, Top Hope. There's a lot of this American genre in the 70s, which is kind of in between into an indie film, but at the same time, it's like a very aesthetic and very very powerful genre films, which I truly love. The slasher movement, I think, is one of the greatest, where the assassin is real, right? The assassin is very real. He's not a ghost. It's like it can happen to anyone, anywhere. I love this new horror wave that is happening right now. For example, with films like The Witch or Hereditary. I think that even It Follows. I think there's plenty of creativity in horror even today. There's so amazing filmmakers that making such a very pleasant and amazing stories. So yes, I'm an enthusiastic of horror from all ages, I believe.
So, you mentioned some recent horror movies, because really horror movies have been popular the last few years with movies like, said, It Follows, Babadook, the Witch, and stuff. Is horror? Are those movies big in Mexico? And is horror itself big in Mexico?
I'm sorry. What's
are genre films big in Mexico?
Big, yes. I think they're big. I think I'm not wrong, but I have this thing that I think the horror films are the most popular in I think just in the entire world, because I think there's a very human thing that makes you go to the cinema and be scared by something. So here in Mexico, we're as well in the States, we're experimenting this new wave of Mexican directors, which are making, just new films, because in Mexico we have like 20 or 30 years without any horror film at all. And we came from a country that make a lot of very good horror films during the first half of the 20th century, and then into the 60s and 70s, even some in the 80s. And then just was like this drought, which no horror films came until, I would say, 10 years ago. They started to reborn again. Filmmakers like Isaac Svan, for example, which is he just is making right now films in North America. And I believe that there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of pushing of new wave directors and writers who really like horror, and I think it's not as big and as the States, because the States always is like it has more sound of everything. But I think we're there. We're making our job into creating a new wave of Mexican horror cinema.
Yeah. So after Hola Mexico Film Festival, what are the plans for Feral? Is it going to go to other festivals? Do you plan to video on demand or DVD, Blu-ray?
Well, after that, we're hoping we're going to go to some other film festivals. This in late June, we're going to have our Asian premiere. And then we expect to have a theatrical release in Mexico in October this year. So because it's still in Mexico important to have a theatrical release. People still go to the cinema. I think in the States they also do. But
I do. So yeah.
Yeah, it is quite a very different experience, right?
Yeah, I love to watch movies at home, but I don't think it ever captures the experience of seeing the movie on the big screen.
Yeah, totally. I'm agreeing with you. To see everything in a big screen with a sound, and I think it's a social thing to do, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Go with your girlfriend or with your dad, or I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also something about watching horror movies with other people. The reaction from the crowd adds to the experience of seeing it. If people are scared,
if everybody's jumping out of their seats, that's the best.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think I don't believe that theaters they're gonna disappear at all. I don't really believe that, because I think they're there to be around for a long time. But I'm not sure how many they will continue to grow, or they continue to maintain their audience levels. I don't know how. But yeah, I mean, for us, for Feral, one of the main goals is to be in a streaming platform that could, where everyone can watch it around, 180 countries around the world, which is a lot of people. It's a huge number to be in, and the people only to by a click, watch your film, even though you are surrounded with, thousands of other films. But that would be after the theatrical release and the festival run. It would be great to have it in a streaming platform, like a mainstream streaming platform.
Yeah, with sites like Shudder especially, Netflix, but they show a lot of international movies on those, which is exciting, because depending on where you are, like besides something like Shudder, I don't really have access to a lot of these movies from other countries, and so to have them on there, it really you get to see these movies from other parts of the world that you might not see otherwise.
Totally. It had changed a lot in that sense because, I can turn on my TV right now and watch a film from, I don't know, Indonesia, which by other terms, I will be really hard to me to watch. So I think it's like a knife with double, I don't know how to say it in English. In Spanish, we say there's a sword with the cutting sides on both sides.
A double-edged sword.
Yeah. Because in one you have a lot of exposure, but on the other hand, you have a lot of competition as well.
Right.
So it's kind of a dilemma. Well, it doesn't mean exactly that if you're in a platform, you're gonna be, watchable for a long people. So. But for the viewer, in that case, I think it's a really huge advantage to watch whatever you want from whatever the world you want it. That's amazing.
Yeah, like I said, it's easier probably now than ever before to actually get something out there, but it's also harder to get noticed since there are so many things out there.
Totally. Yeah, so that's a way, because there's so much films done today. On all the feature films, if you count the short films, it's like a huge number. So how do we? That's a main question for me, and I don't have any answers right now. But how do you, are the one to be there and to say, hey, that's me, please watch me.
Right.
So I think we filmmakers still had a lot of work to figure it out into strategies and to coming up thinking into how do we get that kind of job done in addition of making quality and good film.
Do you think maybe this is too early for you to answer since you just had your first feature at the festivals, but I would think that the festival scene could help that way because I've been going to the festivals for a few years. And movies that do well in the festivals, they get a buzz amongst horror fans or festival fans. And then when they do end up on a Shudder or Hulu or wherever it is, they have that built-in fan base and buzz who then tell other people, hey, you got to check this out. I saw it at such and such film festival. And I think people then are more likely to see it if they see that it has some type of buzz from the festival circuit.
Totally. I think festivals became very important. I mean, yes, I think it's maybe the only one or the only way to show your work into audiences that at the time they're going to talk about it, or there's going to be media, for example, like you guys. We're having this conversation thanks to a film festival, which I believe is great because it allowed me to talk with you and to be heard by your audiences. So I think that it's a very positive thing because there are a lot of film festivals. Very, not only like these huge, big, enormous European festivals, but there's a lot in the community who makes, who make the labor to take the films and show it to small communities or to medium communities, and people start to talk about it. So without film festivals, I mean, we will be totally lost. I would say it would be impossible for anybody to notice you at all.
Yeah, I actually just started going last year to film festivals, and I used to go to a film like horror movie conventions, and I like those too. But the festivals, for me, it's a much better experience. You get to meet all the people who make movies and other movie fans. And so that's good. And you can also, I know a lot of filmmakers, and not even just filmmakers, but people, either they work on the camera or they write or whatever it is. They get to interact with other people and network, and then, then they collaborate and make things together. And even if you just go to watch movies, you get to see a lot of stuff, a year or so before they pop up on Shudder and all these sites. And so it's a really great experience all around.
It's amazing. When we premiered Fantastic Fest in Austin, I don't have any words for that festival because it's just fantastic, as the name said it. There's a huge number of fans that travel a long way just to go to Austin and to experience 10 days of watching films. So the cinema is always crowded. I believe there's like 12 theaters in together, and they're all crowded by fans. So you can have having a beer and there's a famous star over there and nobody's like taking a lot of attention, but you can talk to the fans too, and you can very relaxing thing to do. And as you said it as well, we knew, for example, some collaborator we're collaborating with here in Mexico from the States in Austin. So it's an amazing opportunity for everybody. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, definitely. And what's cool about Hola Mexico Film Festival is they're showing some of this stuff more than once. So you can see Feral on Saturday, June 1st at 3:30 in the afternoon, or you can see it Sunday night at 9:30 on the 2nd. And that's good because sometimes you just have to miss some movies. Either you got to get something to eat at some point in time, or there might be overlap in schedules. And it's good that it has 2 screenings so people can catch it.
That's totally, yeah. And the greatness about Hola Mexico, I think, because I think they're like, I total is 25 films. And the thing I really like is that, 25 films in 10 days, it's a very great amount. So you can catch a very, you can watch a lot of them, even you can watch them all if you want, from one side. And from the other, it's very good because this festival, I believe, it shows the whole spectrum that what's going on in Mexico. You can find genre film like mine, or you can find more social film. You can find documentary film, commercial film, art film. It's like really, you can have a very taste of the spectrum of what's going on into Mexican cinema in this year. It gives you a very good sense of, what's happening here in terms of filmmaking.
And where can people follow you? Do you have like a social media page for people who can follow you and see what you're up to?
Well, I'm on Facebook, so people can find me there as Andres Kaiser, or you can find me on Twitter looking for Andres Kaiser or .Telefochten. So that's basically where we are, and we have a web page which is for the production company I founded with Nicole, the producer of the film. It's called Cineferal, so you can put cineferal.com and see which films we're going in the future, which we're making a lot of co-productions. And you can find Cineferal also in Facebook, so you can follow us there too. And we're making all the notes and all the news that we have for the film. We're just putting up over there.
Yeah, and you get your tickets for Hola Mexico Film Festival at Hola Mexico FF as in filmfestival.com, and it's coming up, and it starts May 31st and runs through June 8th in LA. It's gonna be a good, a lot of good stuff, so looking forward to it.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed Feral, and I hope people check it out, and either they check it out Hola Mexico Film Festival, or when it runs festivals in the future near them, or down the road. But I really liked it, and I really enjoyed talking to you. It's cool to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neal, for having me here talking about the film. I'm really glad that you watch it and enjoy it. And maybe we can be around in the festival and have a drink and talk more about Mexican cinema.
Sounds good. Yeah, and love to have you back sometime. When Feral's out or when you start making the next movie, it'd be cool to catch up with you.
Yeah, that would be definitely. I would love to do that.
All right, excellent. Thanks again for coming on.
No, thank you for the invitation, guys.
Yep.